Right, if you're a Chelsea fan or you know a Chelsea fan, there's only one thing that they've been talking about this season, and that's injuries. Chelsea have had the single most amount of injuries in the entire Premier League at 54 individual player injuries. That's 309 games missed by Chelsea players this season. And that culminated in a game against Tottenham Hotspur where Chelsea had 14 injured players out of the starting 11. They couldn't play. And do you know what? The Chelsea board have had quite a lot of stick for quite a few different reasons, and the medical department is absolutely one of them. So do you know what they decided to do? They decided to absolutely gut it. And yes, not only have we gutted the medical department, but we've also had 3 different managers during the Todd Boehly era at Chelsea Football Club. And what that has resulted in is a lack of consistency. 3 completely different coaching styles with Tuchel, Potter, and then Mauricio Pochettino. All of them will have different physical demands of their players as well. So there's no continuity in terms of the training methods. Then you've also got the fact that there's a lack of knowledge between staff members. So when there's a new manager coming in and a new medical department coming in, they don't know about particular injuries that individual players have got. And then you've got 20 different players coming into Cobham and a new medical team trying to get used to all of that. It's a bit of a recipe for disaster, isn't it? And what this has resulted in is an injury crisis unprecedented in the Premier League. Definitely the worst that I've ever seen at Chelsea Football Club during my 30 years of watching the team play. And when you look at it player by player, the stats are pretty damning. You know, you've got players like Fofana missed the entire season. Lavia comes on and plays about 8 minutes of the entire game. Reece James, probably our best and most generational player that we've seen at Chelsea Football Club for a very, very long time. Again, out for a considerable amount of time. Christopher Nkunku, the star signing that Chelsea were meant to see at Stamford Bridge, barely seen him at all at Stamford Bridge, comes on against Forest, his first sort of real outing that we've seen in a very, very long time. 35 games missed for him. Then you've got players like Chukwuemeka, who at the start of the season plays against West Ham, bags a beautiful goal in, but then goes down with an injury. And again, we've barely seen him for the entire year, but looks such a good player. Then you've got players like Chilwell, who is meant to be our best left back at the football club. Barely seen him play. And the stats with him and Reece James and the lack of ability that they've been able to play with each other, 40 games I think total since the Champions League final win, it's just an absolute disgrace. And then you look at players like Levi Colwill, 14 games missed as well. A player that was meant to be at the heart of our defence, a player that every Premier League club up and down the country wanted. When you look at that, that is the core of our team, and you can understand why Mauricio Pochettino has said in interviews that this has significantly impacted his performance as a manager and significantly impacted the team's performance as a whole this season. Not only do you lose quality with these players being out, like look at the quality that I've just listed there. Nkunku, unbelievable player, Bundesliga legend. You know, you've got Wesley Fofana, such a high rated defender, probably one of our best technical defenders at the football club. You've got Romeo Lavia, who was meant to form a key part of our centre midfield, and then let alone players like Reece James, who we all know is probably one of the best right backs in the world. The quality missing out for the Chelsea squad is just huge with those guys not being able to play. And it's not just about quality, it's also about connections. You look at the team that we're fielding week in, week out, and what the key thing that we're missing is consistency in the lineup. You know, you think about the number of centre-back pairings that we've had this season. I think it was over 15 different centre-back pairings that we've seen throughout the season so far. And how can you build any continuity, any understanding between the players when they can't form relationships like that? It's just really, really scary. And then when the players do return, they're also not match fit. And we've seen this quite a lot this season. We've had players coming back, played quite quickly, then get re-injured. Or if they're not even re-injured, which is definitely the worst case scenario, they're definitely not up to the standard and the speed of the Premier League. Coming back into the Premier League is not easy. You're running at 100 miles an hour. You're trying to close down play. You're trying to do short sprints. Players with muscular injuries that we've got extensively, that's not a good recipe. So to get those boys match fit and playing and up to level of the Premier League, it takes a lot of time. And Mauricio Pochettino is very key about this. He makes a very big point about pre-seasons, and he cares about getting those players match fit and ready to compete at the very top level. And if boys are coming back from injuries and they're training on grass and they're training only on the training pitch, coming into a match environment is completely different, especially against players that are 100% fit. Teams up and down the Premier League have had significant injuries. Like, look at this table right now. There are so many injuries up and down the Premier League. Newcastle stick out to me as being particularly bad. Man United have also had quite a few injuries this season. There are teams that have been gutted with injuries. Even teams like Brighton, I should say. They've been really, really bad. But you have to say, look at the table. We've definitely had it the worst. So, in the game against Forest, to have a bench of Gusto, Nkunku, Sterling, Reece James, Colwill, Disasi, Chukwuemeka and Caicedo, it meant everything to us. That was the strongest bench that we've had for Chelsea in a very, very long time. Remember, just a couple of weeks earlier, maybe even just 10 days earlier against Tottenham, we had an entire bench of academy players. And then you compare that bench, it's pretty different, isn't it? Let's just take the first 4 boys that came on in this game. Christopher Nkunku. We know how good this guy is, and we've been waiting to see him play. We saw it in pre-season. He was absolutely immense. He comes on in the game against Forest, and he completely changed it straight away. He won the free kick that we then whipped in, and Thiago Silva hit the post from it. The impact was immediate, and this is just Christopher Nkunku. He doesn't even look like he's 100% up to speed or match fit himself, to be honest with you. And then we have to call out Raheem Sterling. I've been on this guy so much, and I think he deservedly does start on the bench, even if he is just coming back from injury. I still think he isn't just there yet. But I tell you what, he's proven a lot of people wrong by coming on and making a real significant impact here. Chopping off the left-hand side, coming inside and shooting. What an unbelievable goal that was. And what an impact from the guy. We do need to see that week in, week out. And I really hope he does it. There's nothing, I've got no issue really with Raheem Sterling. I just want him to turn up week in, week out and actually have some passion. And he actually seemed like he did care in this game, and fair play to him. And then you got Malo Gusto. This guy is just absolutely immense. The interplay between him and Reece James was absolutely brilliant over the right hand side. And you got to say, the movement that Malo Gusto does allows Reece James to have so much space and time that he does to whip one of the best crosses that we've seen all season. And that is what we've been waiting for Reece James. Let's be honest, he's come on and looks far and away above anything that we've seen this season. We have missed him so badly. And I tell you what, if you're Nicholas Jackson right now, you are licking your lips at the opportunity and the potential to have Reece James whipping the ball into you week in, week out. That header from him was excellent. And it's so good to see Jackson performing so well for us. And let's be honest, Reece James, we got to talk about him right now. He is, as we said at the start of the season, probably our only world-class player. He comes on and he looks so solid. There was a ball that came over to him. It hits his chest. He brings it down. That is classic Reece James. And just one of his sort of technical moments that you just see him and just go, yeah, mate, you're pretty fucking good, aren't you? So to see him back fit in the squad, he looked strong, he looked fast, he looked like he wasn't really hampered by injury. The boys have definitely given him a lot of time to recover. I feel that he has been on grass now for over 6 weeks, maybe even 2 months. And is a total, by the way, of 5 months out. So to see him back, even if it is at this stage of the season, it does mean everything. And we really need him to be fit for the start of next season as well. And let's hope he can stay fit for the entire season, because if he does, good things are going to happen. And I think what's clear, and Poch did say this in several of his press conferences, was that he needed a fully fit squad to be judged properly. And I think when all of the people are saying Poch out and they're not sure on his methods, I get it. I really, really do. But I also get the perspective of him, where he's saying, look, judge me when I've got a full squad, when I've got a full team of players that we want and we want to see bed in. Then judge me. Then have a look at it. Because I tell you what, I don't know if we would have won that game against Forest early in the season. And indeed, we lost against Forest. Forest were so up for that game. You could see it. They were putting pressure on us all over the pitch. They were physical. They were strong. You could tell they wanted it. And obviously, staying up for them is the absolute goal. And by the looks of it, they probably will stay up now. And I really do hope in a weird way that they do. I was gutted that Luton didn't stay up. I really wanted that sort of fairy tale story. But Luton will be back. And now Forest, they gave everything. But we gave it right back. And I have to say, to come back from 2-1 down after that Callum Hudson-Odoi goal, which, by the way, we really do miss him. And what a player he was. I would absolutely swap him. And I'm going to say it now, and, you know, banter me all you want, but I would swap him for Raheem Sterling, you know, every day of the week. I really would. And he did celebrate very slyly, but I did appreciate the respect as well. To get him for £3 million or whatever it was, I think it was £3 to £5 million, is just a complete steal, and what a player we've missed out on there, and I really do miss him already, to be fair. The game itself was definitely sloppy, wasn't it? And I think we set up quite narrow, didn't we? I think I'm going to show something on screen right now to sort of show the average positions, and the narrowness is really interesting for me. You know, you've got Chalobah sort of tucking in on the right hand side, who's generally a centre back. You've got, you know, Cucurella on the left hand side also tucking in. You've got inverted wingers that really want to be occupying the central areas, and then you've got sort of centre midfielders that really are also just sticking to the centre areas as well. I thought in the last 2 games or so we did look fairly secure, and this was one of those games we did look back to the way that we've been playing all season, really, in that we were fairly open. But let's be honest, who cares about how many goals they scored, how many shots they had, how many shots on target? I don't really give a fuck anymore. All I care about is the 3 points, and we absolutely got those. As I say, earlier in the season, I don't think we would have. We have to talk about some players individually as well. I thought Misha, you know I'm going to talk about him first. You know that I've got a poster of this guy on my wall. You know how much I love him. But what a pass that was from Cole Palmer, who rightly did win man of the match. Now, I'll give my shout on man of the match later on. And also in the comments, if you let me know who you think the man of the match of this game was, I'd be really interested to know as well. But yeah, Cole Palmer, what a pass through to Misha. And really, we've seen him fluff a few of those earlier in the season, but he slotted it home so brilliantly. And I was really chuffed for him as well. And let's hope he can get a few more of those goals, because he's a confidence player. And if he gets the confidence, I think we're going to see so many really good things from Misha next season. The next player that we have to talk about is Moises Caicedo. This guy, as you know, has had so much shit. He's had so many people saying that he's the flop of the season, that the 120 odd million pounds wasn't worth it. And you know what? I think maybe he's proven a lot of people wrong right now. He got the assist for the Raheem Sterling goal, didn't he? Obviously, Raheem did a lot of that work there, but it just shows you it's another forward pass by Caicedo, an incisive pass, and what a player he is. And then the one that we need to talk about is the assist to Reece James. The ball gets to Caicedo off Gusto pass. Caicedo puts a ball into the area where Reece James wants to get it, run onto the ball, and then he whips that cross in, and Jackson slots it home with a beautiful, imperious header. But Caicedo does that week in, week out, and there are so many people still questioning him, and I just don't understand it. I think it was 91% pass accuracy, 114 passes. This guy just doesn't really put a foot wrong, and you have to say, in moments of that game, right, he was by himself. Like, we took off Conor Gallagher, Cole Palmer drops in, he was still absolutely immense. And then another player that we have to talk about is Trevor Chalobah. This guy, again, looks like he's out the door. He keeps putting performances in, week out. Started on the right, then went into centre-back today. And you have to say, just looks like one of our best defenders. And I do honestly think that we would be mental if we sold him. And then the next guy that we need to talk about is doing pretty well for a flop, isn't he? Nicholas Jackson. He's got 14 non-penalty goals in the league this season. That's more than Salah. Salah's got 13. Now, the point that we have to discuss here is about Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen has got 15 goals in Serie A this season, in a similar amount of games and starts to Nicholas Jackson. And we are going to have to drop £100 million to bring this guy in. The question is, do we need him? Like, you look at Nicholas Jackson and his performances, and he seems to be getting better and better every game that we see him in a Chelsea shirt. And you look at Victor Osimhen and their record, and their records are fairly similar. Do we need to be spending that kind of money and thinking about the outlays that are going to have to go to bring this guy in? Think about Connor having to leave, Trevor having to go, Maatsen having to go. Do we need to sanction all of those offloads to bring a player like that in for that amount of money? Or shall we potentially spend a little bit less money, maybe have a backup to Nicholas Jackson, and still have this guy leading the line? Because honestly, if you think about it, he's been absolutely brilliant. 17 goals in all competitions this season, 5 assists. The question for you is, do we need this striker? Would you offload the money for Osimhen? Would you sign a slightly cheaper option? Or do we actually go into next season with Nkunku and Jackson as our centre forward options and see how it goes? Very interested to see what you think. Definitely leave me a comment. But the next thing that we have to talk about is Europe. Is it on? Well, yeah, the answer is absolutely on. Newcastle have got to play Man United. They're going to take points off each other. And so you've got to say 6th place is absolutely achievable now. I do think Man United will just slip off. At the time of recording, they're yet to play Arsenal, but we know what's going to happen in that game. Arsenal are going to absolutely destroy them. Then Newcastle, they are still looking pretty good. Ravaged by injuries, though. Got the draw against Brighton, which we all thought that Newcastle would potentially win that game. They didn't. And they've still got to play United, as we say. So both of those boys dropping points. Then you look at Spurs, just scraped a win against Burnley. They've now got to play City, which we all know City are going to absolutely destroy them. And then last game of the season, let's hope for a miracle, because they're playing Sheffield United away. Sheffield United are going to be playing purely for pride because they're already gone down. But I think every Chelsea fan up and down the country, all around the world, is going to be saying, come on, Sheffield United, because if they get a result there, we could beat them on goal difference. Let's be honest, the City game is probably going to be, 2-3 goals to our favour. We've got the same amount of goal difference as Spurs, by the way. So if we do get 2 wins in the last 2 games, 5th, I'm going to say it very quietly because I've got bantered from teams up and down the country, I have to say, it could be on. Let me know what you think. Do you think that 5th is possible? Would you be happy with 6th? And is 6th a good start for Mauricio Pochettino at Chelsea, especially with all these rumours going on about him potentially leaving in the summer? I just don't see a scenario in which we could allow him to do so. We've still got 1 more year in his contract. And so I think he's here to stay. And I think Europe is absolutely possible. Let me know what you thought of this video. If you enjoyed it, please do subscribe to the channel. And if you do want to support me, check out Aveste, my streetwear brand, the home of independent streetwear. There will be a link in the description below. So go and click that for me if you want to pick up some new clothes in time for summer. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.